listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com. Welcome to REIA Radio, episode 190. This is the Real Estate Rundown with Owen, Dashner, and Kaasch. Man,
you always giggle.
we just got done doing our local luncheon networking event, and Owen and I were sitting there looking around, and it was packed. So if you're one of the 60 or so people that were there, thank you so much for coming out.
I
basically
had to eat lunch off of a laptop. I walk in, there's literally no spots available because I was a little late, and then your laptop's sitting there. I'm trying to awkwardly eat a salad and soup around it.
Oh, and you have one job. You have to just keep the screen alive.
I did. I more or less did.
I mean, you only failed like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
So room for improvement.
Why do you think it was so busy today?
Well, okay. So for those listeners in the Midwest, you know exactly why it probably is so busy today. But for our national and international listeners, we had a record-breaking cold snap, and that's saying something in the Omaha, Nebraska area. Negative, what was it last night? 17?
Yeah, with a negative 30 wind chill.
Yeah, so not real nice to go outside in that. I think due to school being canceled all week pretty much with President's Day on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a 2-hour late start today. Like, I told my kids, I'm like, I love you guys, but I am really ready for you to go back to school now.
My kids had a late start on like Wednesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just, yeah, like you said, it's kind of cabin fever and people are tired of their kids and just want an escape.
I was
be
like,
around some adults.
I'm like, what marketing did I do correctly this week?
It was nuts, man. Yeah, that was the most ever, right? Like in 5, 6 years, 7 years.
What, 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
man. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, I loved it.
It took almost an hour to go around the room and introduce everybody. That's how packed it was.
I cut off a couple of questions, and then I think we started about 20 minutes earlier than we normally did, just in anticipation for that.
Exactly. Now, one of the people that got up and gave a little bit of a speech was Dennis Tierney out of Lincoln, and he's really dialed into a local organization here called MOPOA. Metro Omaha Property Owners Association.
Yep.
So, quick soundbite for you guys listening. If you own any property as far as rentals go around the Omaha metro area or Lincoln,
this is happening everywhere.
It really is, but there are some key legislation items that were introduced this week, and then some other upcoming ones that are all anti-landlord. He brought up one that it was so insane. I thought I'd mention it on the podcast here. There's some legislation being introduced right now that would require every single eviction that you do as a landlord to have a jury trial. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. I didn't know that this was an ongoing effort that some of the legislators had.
What they want, they'll just bring back every year.
Yeah, so it's like there's rent control on the docket that's coming up, I think, in March. And then, this one about having a jury trial for evictions. Can you talk about overkill? What in the world? I mean, this could have an effect of taking
and the
months and months and months for you to even get a hearing.
They said 9 months on average eviction.
So do the math here. If you got somebody that's not paying rent and they're like, yeah, go ahead and evict me, and then 6 more months go by or 8 or however long it's going to take to get a jury trial together, imagine the cost. You're going to have 6 to 8 months of additional missed payments because it's like, why, if they're getting evicted, why would they pay you more rent? They wouldn't.
Oh, can you imagine us getting called over for those jury duties?
Oh my, I would have a really hard time not flying off the handle.
I would be making sure. I'm like, yes, I think I'd be a great juror for this.
Oh yeah, we can infiltrate the jury. Nice. Yeah. But anyway, the message here is, pay attention to this stuff, guys. You can just Google it. The initials generally are LB before the particular legislation that they have.
If you go on our REIA Radio YouTube channel and you watch last month's event where we had Mike McGillen speak, we had Paul Pacheski talk on all these specific ones in detail at the start of the video. So definitely check that out.
Yep. And again, go to mopoa.com, MOPOA.com, and they have a lot of good information for property owners that are rentals in the Omaha market, and they meet, I believe, monthly, and they also have a newsletter for members. So if you want to join that, check it out. They're kind of a sister type of a meetup group to the Omaha REIA.
The craziest one that he brought up was the nuisance.
Yes.
So if your property is considered a nuisance to the neighborhood, and it can be sound, your tenants, how it looks, or whatever they feel like is a nuisance, and it gets a complaint or two, I don't know the fine details of this, a nonprofit can come in and purchase your property without your approval.
I wanted to ask that, but it was getting so long into the event today that we didn't really have time, but I don't know how the mechanics of that would possibly work out. I don't see that one passing at all, but yeah, they're basically saying, like, if you got some overgrown stuff and a nonprofit says, oh, we don't like the looks of that, this is saying they could come in and take over the property. And I was like, what does take over mean? Like, you can't just like force me to sell for whatever price you name. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, they're going to get some stiff opposition on that. Totally. I would imagine.
So I videoed his whole conversation too. So this will be 2 weeks after the event. If you go back in our Omaha REIA Facebook page, I'll have that video posted there, and I'll probably put it on my own personal social.
So yeah, it's good stuff there. Pay attention to that. Check out Mapoa and Ted's beautiful iPhone video he took today at lunch.
Beautiful iPhone video.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't think we ever drop this very often, but if you go to tedkaasch.com, you can get all my links to everything I do. And Owen, how do we find you on social media?
Owen Money Real Estate. I'm going to be a little more active on YouTube, which the bar is really low on the activeness because I haven't really put much content out there. But I'm going to start, I think, creating some just day-to-day, videos on things that I found in my experience in investing in real estate that have been helpful, useful, maybe lessons learned or warnings of stuff that I screwed up on that you should maybe pay attention to so you don't do it too.
Well, you did commit to speaking at the Omaha REIA meetup this year. So
I don't remember that.
We'll do that video for you so you can put clips of that on your YouTube.
I was under duress, I think, when you asked
That is
me
a lie. You said you want to be more involved.
Oh, man. Speaking of under duress, you want to hear about some of the crap that I've been dealing with this week?
Yeah.
Oh,
I love hearing the crap you're dealing with.
Okay,
but now I've seen your social media in the frozen pictures.
Yeah, all right. So, again, cold snap this week, whatever. But unrelated to that, I have this property I've mentioned before that's a 4-story apartment building. It's got a penthouse unit on the top. I have been using it as an Airbnb. I don't think I told you about this.
But the elevator?
Yeah. Oh, I did tell you. Okay. So anyway, for you listeners that love, laughing at my misery.
This is real good.
So I have this friend that is moving back to Omaha. He's from here originally, and I was not using that unit for anything. It's already furnished, and he's moving to Omaha, and I was like, look, man, if you need some time to like look around and before you find a place, I'm like, just crash there. It's already furnished. You don't need to worry about decorating and buying crap and whatever. So just stay there for a few weeks if you need to. No big deal. He's like, oh, thanks. It was perfect fit. So he arrives on a night when it snowed like 6 inches or whatever. So terrible timing. He gets into the apartment. So the next day I get this text from him and he's like, so are people just able to come right into my apartment whenever they want? Because this penthouse unit, the building has an elevator and it's been down for about 3 months, right? They had to order a part.
So you only have one elevator in that.
One elevator, yeah.
So there's stairs?
So yeah, there's stairs. Yeah. Yeah. So he was, he was using the stairs and I'm like, hey, this is actually good timing because they're fixing the elevator. It's great. You're not going to have to walk up, 3 flights of steps. So anyway, elevator gets repaired, the part's in, it's all good to go. Great. So you have to have a key to get up to the 4th floor in the penthouse. So you put the key in the slot, turn it, and then it'll go up to 4th floor. If you don't have the key, you can't get up there, in theory. What I found out was whatever they did when they got the elevator working again, it now allows access for anybody in the entire building. And this isn't something where you go up the elevator and you walk out of it and then you have to go in an entry door into the apartment. It's just literally walking right into the living room. Mm-hmm. So he's sitting there like chilling on the couch watching TV, and like 3 or 4 people end up coming up like within a span of like 30 minutes. And they open the door, they look around. He's sitting on the couch wide-eyed. They're looking at him like, what is going on? He's like, hi. they're laughing, and I'm like, oh my, I'm mortified
because what if you're naked or like
or worse, what if it was
sex?
What if it wasn't my buddy? What if it was I mean, not to be sexist, but what if it was a single woman and she was there with her alone or with a kid? What if something terrible happened? Yeah. What if a squatter decided to be like, oh, hey, I heard I can get up to this sweet apartment. I'm going to just go up there and move in.
The potential lawsuit.
Oh my God. And so thank goodness my buddy is cool. I'm sure it bothers him more than he's letting on, but I was just livid at this. So I went over there. I went up and down that elevator like 30 times just testing it. And the very first time I walk in, I hit the button, right? I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on here. So I hit the button, walk in, it goes right into his apartment when I hit floor 3. Because I didn't tell him I was going to be there like exactly at the time. He looks at me like, what the hell? And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I should have let you know I was coming up. But I go, I just hit floor 3 and I ended up on floor 4 into your apartment. So and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be smart this time. I'm going to video me doing this, right? So I go back down to floor 1. I hit the video record button.
Once you hit video, nothing
No,
works.
it never works. I could never recreate it again. So I literally did. I went up and down that stupid elevator to all the different floors like 30 times. Never got to do it again. And then it happened again later. I'm just like exasperated at this point by the elevator company. Long story longer, I think it's okay now, but
so what did they discover?
Nothing. The guy couldn't recreate the issue. And he's like, there's really no setting in the thing. And I go, are you kidding me? I walk in the elevator control room, open up these two like big, think of like an electrical panel. These things are monsters, right? And they've got all these boards and chip, like switches and stuff. And I go, are you telling me there's no way in here to control what floor these go to? Are you stupid? Like, I didn't say that, but that's definitely what I was thinking.
You sure you didn't say that?
Maybe I did. But anyway, so I was just pissed. I'm falling all over myself, apologizing to him and bringing him bourbon as a mea culpa. And anyway,
that's just because you don't want to drink at home.
So that's true. So that happened, and then so this cold snap happens, and I end up. So I'm driving around checking out some vacant properties that I have, right, and I stop by one of them. So in the Midwest, when you have a crazy cold snap like this, there's a real danger of furnaces getting overheated. Maybe you haven't changed filters in a while or whatever, right?
I did all that this week, by the way. When
yeah.
Just changed filters.
So, I'm always worried about that because I have a little bit of scar tissue from years past with really bad things happening when lines get frozen.
I mean, you've had more water issues than most people I know.
I know. You would think I'd know how to deal with this better. But so I'm driving around, right? And I go into one of them that I have in Carter Lake, which isn't far from my house. I stop by. And, so generally I'll open the cabinet doors of the sinks, turn the water on a drip to keep the water flowing through the system. And then, change the furnace filter if it needs it. And then make sure the thermostat batteries are good. This one, I walk in the house and I could see my breath and it's not much warmer than me.
That
oh
feeling.
man,
God,
it's the worst.
Feeling, yeah.
So I go and I look and I'm like, okay, I check the sink and the lines aren't frozen yet. Right. So that's good. Water's moving out of I turn the cold on and it's running. But I go in the bathroom and the toilet has a layer of ice on the top of it.
Now this isn't the one that you already posted a picture of on.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
So I do this, right, and I'm like, oh god. So I go out and I look and I'm like, what is going on? Why is the furnace not working? And I look and the furnace, the thermostat's dead. So I'm like, oh crap. So I run home, get some batteries, we come back, fires right up, no problem.
So gold nugget, check your batteries.
Check your batteries, on vacant properties especially. So if you have a vacant rental, if you're doing a flip, nobody's there.
I'm not gonna lie, because I always thought that there was a level of power that came through your thermostat, like a small voltage. So I always thought it at least would maintain, maybe not the screen, but I always thought it would at least keep the furnace on. I mean, heck, you don't even have to put batteries in those Nest or any of those. Those keep running.
Yeah, those are hardwired though. This one's like a battery operated one, but you connect it. Yeah. Anyway, so I pop that in. So disaster averted there. So this morning I go to a house and I have one that's being worked on right now. I had a rental for a long time and I'm going to sell it, but it needs remodeled. It needs like, $25,000 remodel. So I'm like, okay, no real need to go over there and check that one because there's guys working there. Obviously they're going to keep the furnace on, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, I'm out running around anyway. I'm on the same street. Let me just pop in there. Nobody's there. This is this morning. I walk in and it is as cold as the outside and it is -9, I think, this morning.
So do you have exploding pipes everywhere?
What happens typically is the lines will freeze solid.
Yeah.
And they don't split the copper until they defrost.
How's that?
Because it's frozen solid, right? When the copper heats up, the hot and the cold causes the metal stress, and it will cause a split. A lot of times it'll happen in joints or right by the joint.
So do you call your plumber right now to see if there's like a way to avoid that?
No, so I kind of lit up my contractor, and I'm like, dude. And what happened in this case was, for some, who knows why, they turned the furnace off, because the first thing I did was look at the thermostat, and it was set to off. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
This is 100% preventable.
Yes. So I lay into my contractor, and then he, of course,
what do you say?
He's like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And he's the guy that is the GC, right? So he calls his head sub. And he's like, dude, why did this happen? I didn't get a reason why, but it happened. And he's like, you're on the hook for this to the sub. He's like, if this requires a whole bunch of plumbing repairs, this is on you. And it for sure will. The toilet tank and the actual bowl were frozen solid. Oh. And so I run down, and I can't even get the shutoff turned all the way off because it's frozen.
Yeah.
So I get it most of the way off, and then he runs over there and puts a heat gun or hair dryer or something on it, gets it warmed up, and was able to turn it more and got it all the way shut off. So anyway, that's the stuff that happens this week in the Midwest.
This is why you don't want to do flips anymore.
Yeah, right. Anyway, that really sucked, both of those things.
Oh man, my heart just goes out to you on that. Like I have one Airbnb tenant in right now, and she's from Zimbabwe. And she's like, it is so cold. And I'm like, honestly, you have the warmest unit in the building. It is. It's like right next to the thermostat.
I imagine it's a hair warmer there.
It's the podcast studio. Okay. And you know how warm that thing would get, right?
Oh yeah. We had to disrobe basically to finish by the times we're sweating so bad.
So she made me bring in some heaters, and she already had one in there. And then all of a sudden I get a call. I think it was like 10:30 last night. And like, oh, the circuit breakers are popping around because everybody's running their space heaters.
Oh,
I'm like, heat has never been an issue in this building. Like air conditioning, yes. Like it's sometimes hard to keep it cool when it's really hot out, but heat has never been an issue. And so now everybody's running space heaters. They're popping. It's like 10:30 at night, and I'm like kicking my feet up. I want to watch 0 Day on Netflix, and I hit play. I get through the first 4 minutes, and here comes the calls and text messages. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
I had to call that tenant. I'm like, hey, you have that heater in there, and it's great that you have that running, but you cannot run that hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't
just leave it on like all day.
Yeah, you can't max it out.
Yeah. So that's so funny. So they're like, it's only 78 in here. Right? Because you get it. Yeah. Anyway, I went over to this commercial building that I have that's getting a lot of work done to it. It was the flood property last year where the pipes burst.
Is that even close?
Is it what?
Is it close?
Close to what?
Being done?
No, not even close. It's several months out. But fortunately, most of the mechanical crap that we're dealing with, the elevator, the plumbing, radiator, all that.
The big money items.
Yeah, a lot of that's getting toward the finish line. So I think we're the cosmetic stuff will fly.
Will you guys keep it now, or will you guys sell it after this?
I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to see how we do leasing it up because that'll dictate whether we can sell it or not.
Because it'll all be new.
Right. Yeah. So, but anyway, I go over there and they have, like we don't have the boiler online, and I was super worried about plumbing issues and whatnot. They're running space heaters, but they're doing the same thing. They're tripping breakers and all this. And then they end up getting one of those like propane fired. It almost looks like a jet turbine, that's just running super hot. And they're running that on like a couple of floors. So it's nice and warm in there.
One thing I'm kind of going back and forth with as we speak is this 5-unit that we have, and I don't have a huge portfolio, so I only have a couple things to talk about here. But this particular property, it has a updated electrical box, and it's got the sticker on it, and I'm happy. But as I'm seeing some of these circuits pop, I'm like, really, this box needs to be a lot bigger, like double the size, because every switch is a double switch, and that would help prevent a lot of these issues, right? But if I do that, I don't want the city to come in and be like, because we're replacing the box, we want to replace all the electrical and all the units and your separate electrical meters, and I don't know where that rule is and how it stands, and I haven't had an electrician to be able to give me a clear answer.
You know what the answer is? I think the answer is depends on how the city inspector feels that day. If he wants to be a dick, then he could be like, oh, you're going to have to redo all of this. And that's the risk you run with that type of stuff. And that's why people avoid pulling permits, quite honestly, is the fear of like coming out of pocket for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that they didn't plan on.
It's like, I want to better my property.
Right.
I'm willing to put $3,000 to $5,000 into a new electrical box.
Yep.
It has a new electrical box. It's only like 6 years old.
Yep.
But they didn't put the right one in.
Yeah. Well, what do you say we get into today's
Golden Nugget? And this Golden Nugget is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions, we have trillions with a T to lend. 844-WE-CLOSE or go online, jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
I wanted to bring this up. Having your portfolio of properties, do you periodically review their performance to see where they're sitting compared to what you were expecting or what your underwriting said?
No, I always have my eyes on it, and that was the whole main reason I took over the short-term management in the last 2 weeks.
Because it wasn't performing?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers didn't make sense, and because of that, it wasn't sellable.
Yeah, no, so I wanted to bring this topic up because I try to do this for sure at least once a year, because what happens is your fixed operating expenses that you're going to have on rental properties are going to be property taxes, insurance, and your mortgage payment. Typically, you can't change those things, right? And of course, your mortgage payment's going to reset.
They're changing on you every day.
Oh,
though.
yeah. And so mine is a complete whack-a-mole with trying to keep track of all this stuff. But what I've really trying to be better at is at least, I think quarterly is the right answer on this. But if you do it, you should do it at least annually for sure, 100%. If not semi-annually, because your insurance policy that you have on your building is going to renew at some point during the year, and it's not always the same time, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure and double check your math and how your property's performing, because insurance costs can double in some cases, sometimes even more on larger properties. So it's gotten ridiculous. And then property taxes, same thing. They're not going down, they're going up. But you may want to do that, or you should do that, and kind of like make a call, because if you're buying a property and you're like, yeah, this thing's going to cash flow $300 a door, and it's going to be, this will be fine, and it's a good solid deal. And then guess what? Your property tax goes up, your insurance doubles, and then you may be going from $300 a month to $50 a month. And then guess what? That's going to eat into all your reserves, and you're not going to be able to afford big CapEx events that you set aside. So it's a good time to do that when we have, situations like we're experiencing right now with these runaway fixed expense increases. And you may want to make the decision to pull the plug on some of these and sell off your ones that aren't doing well. It's kind of the 80-20 rule, right? So if you have your bottom 20%, I always try to do that. I cycle through and get rid of my lower performing properties, maybe ones that I bought earlier that I bought because they were cheap, but they're not in a great place, or their expenses are just kind of eating into any profit you get. So that's today's golden nugget.
Kind of got my head going there a little bit. Wouldn't it be really beneficial to start a company that does that for
an
people?
Audit? Like an audit?
Yeah. And so, hey, you hire our services. My team will go through, we'll analyze your property. We'll look through the rents and the mortgages, and we'll look at the property managers, and we'll analyze the deal. We'll provide you a report, and we'll do your yearly analysis, not for taxes, just to tell you if it's making profit, and give you a 3-year or 5-year overview.
Property doctor.
Ooh.
You know what? This sounds like a great idea. I think you should do it, and I'll help you pay for it.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. And I don't want to do any of the day-to-day. No, I actually do think that's a great idea, because occasionally I'll get hit up by people that'll be like, hey, do you mind just looking at my stuff, right? Can you tell me how my stuff is performing? What should I do differently? And, it's very telling when you look at a good P&L on a property. You can generally tell what's wrong, right? So if it's done right, you should be able to tell what your make-readies are costing, your insurance, taxes, all the regular operating expenses. And you can generally look at that, and there's going to be stuff that'll jump out at you if it's a poorly performing property. And a lot of times you get so caught up in you can't see the forest through the trees because you're just dealing with the day-to-day, right? But if you have a fresh set of eyes come in and do kind of like a quick and dirty analysis of your property or your situation, a lot of times it does help to get other set of eyes on it, because let's face it, you can be your own echo chamber, because if you bought a property and you've been operating it for a while, you kind of tend to tell yourself, oh, this is a good rental. But if you actually look at it, or if you have somebody else look at it, they may say, this is not a good rental, and here's why. And, if you're honest about it, you could make the decision to sell off some of those when they aren't performing like they used to.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you think that you could bring some value to Property Doctor's company that we were starting, please let us know. We will get that going immediately. And I think that's a great idea.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, how about we talk about today's guest?
Okay. So everybody, the guest that's coming on Wednesday, Elijah Brown, I was looking at the calendar, And as I'm looking, I'm like, hey, Owen, who's Elijah Brown? Is this your guest? Because he told me he had some people he brought in. I usually bring in most of the guests, and he's like stepping up, and I'm like, awesome, yeah. He's like, that is not my guy, and I'm like,
I don't know who that is.
And I'm like, dude, I got on his LinkedIn, and you and your business partners all follow him. I have no idea who he is. And he's like, that wasn't me. I'm like, dude, you're on his LinkedIn. Nope, not me. So here I am, and I'm like, this guy got our link somehow, and he's booked, he's self-booked, and I'm a little irritated. And I email Elijah, how did you get our link? Did somebody give it to you? Because just so you know, we don't give our links out to random people. We'd love to know more about you. Maybe this will still work. Owen's like, nope, wasn't me. 2 weeks later, guess what Owen says?
Yep, that was me. So what happened was, I had connected with Elijah's, I don't know if it's his assistant. I'm sure he has some other role in the company, but like his assistant I had connected with on LinkedIn just randomly. And he messaged me and he's like, hey, would you be interested in having our founder of our company on? His name's Elijah Brown. And, here's a little bit about his background. I'm like, and I looked at his LinkedIn profile and I connected with him too. I was like, oh yeah, this guy looks awesome. Let's get him on. Here's the Calendly link. And then, so that happened and I totally forgot about it. And I'm like, no, Ted, you idiot. You're the one that booked him. So then I was going back through and I found the message with his person and I'm like, yeah, that was me. My bad.
Okay. Well, tell everybody why they're so excited to hear about Elijah on Wednesday.
So my guest, Elijah, holy crap. You guys, you got to tune in on Wednesday because this dude has done some baller moves in real estate related to multifamily. And specifically, he kind of started out the traditional path where he messed around with single family stuff, rentals, flips, and so forth. And then got into being an owner operator and a GP, meaning he was raising money to put into multifamily syndication deals. Got tired of that. And then ended up just doing a fund of funds model, which is super interesting. I cannot wait for you guys to listen to this because it's like nothing else we've talked about on previous podcasts and 190 of them. So this is going to be a really good conversation that hopefully you guys get some enjoyment out of.
And if you really appreciate a nice high level conversation, one where I generally don't speak the whole time because Owen's our high level person in the room.
Bar is low.
Yeah. So you will enjoy this. We don't dumb this down in any sort of way in this interview. So we're going to use big words. We're going to talk big numbers and we're going to talk big minded opportunities. And if you love that type of podcast, this is the podcast for you. If you don't love that type of podcast, you should listen in and just learn some things.
There you go. Yeah.
But with that, appreciate you guys listening to us. We appreciate the support that we always get from our local and national crowd. And if you guys love what you're hearing, it would mean the world to us if you would share this podcast with somebody else that would get something out of it. And we haven't had a good review to read in a while, and we love reading reviews. So please leave us some reviews on whatever format you listen to. It could be YouTube, Rumble, and any podcast format. We will find it. We will read it out. So thank you so much for listening, and we appreciate your support. And with that, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
I'm Owen Dashner. Aiden Bear just walked in. You've been listening to Ted Kaasch on REIA Radio.
Signing off.
This episode is also brought to you by PropStream and Magic Door.
Well, how about we talk about today's guest?
Oh, Aiden Bear.
Aiden Bear.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, buddy. Grab a mic. You're on. No. Just kidding. Aiden just walked in here.